Welcome to Stegosaurus Bulletin, where I read the funniest and most interesting topics on Reddit and the craziest news articles that I can find. In this episode, we'll be looking at the subreddit Pettyrevenge. The next Reddit post is by the user The Real Omega Vince. He told me I just have to deal with him, so I did. I work in a corner store. As expected when working at a corner store, there's lots of thieves that we need to deal with. Most of them are told to leave and don't come back. Some come back after a few months, but they don't steal anymore. But one man decided to be different. This guy's about... What? This guy's probably about 70 or older and comes in every day and steals something every time he's in. When confronted about it, he simply admits he stole and expects to be let off with no punishment. One day, the boss caught him red-handed and told him he's not allowed back in. A couple days later, he came back to apologize and said he won't do it again if he can still come in. So the boss agreed, but he printed out a sheet and told everybody to write down the times he comes in so the boss can look at it later. About a week goes by and sure enough, the boss confirms with us that he's still stealing when he comes in and instructed us to tell him he's not allowed on the property anymore. So we did, about 10 times. We were denying him service at this point, but he kept trying to use the ATM inside the store. We repeatedly told him he's not allowed, but we never really enforced it because we were usually busy and he would be gone by the time we had a minute to do something about him. He usually would say something like, "I'm still not allowed," or "I'll be just a minute." One day he comes in and I immediately tell him loudly and clearly that he's not allowed in, and if he doesn't leave, I'm calling the cops. He told me, "You just have to deal with me." So I called the cops and asked him what his name was, and he ran out the door before I was done on the phone. This wasn't over yet. Using the information I had about his browsing patterns in the store, I made a plan. I waited patiently for the day to come when he would come into the store when there was nobody else in the store but me, and I had no other obligations. Today was my lucky day. Today he came in and went straight to the ATM, so I immediately told him to get out now or I'm calling the cops. I locked up the safe and shut all the doors and locked them, then went outside and locked the store from the outside with him stuck inside. I called the non-emergency police line and they sent 2 units to write up a file stating that if he comes back, he will be fined and possibly arrested. I told the police officer that we kicked him out like 10 times and he told me, "You just have to deal with me." So I did just that. The police ended up charging him with trespassing because he's on parole. Too long didn't read. Guy stole several times. Got kicked out, he kept coming back. I got him charged with trespassing. Our next post is by user Vorst17735. Got told off for using bracket ... rather than ... bracket a year ago. Have managed to go a year using only bracket ... in my messages to them. And if you're only listening and not watching, the brackets and the dots make up the smiley face in text messages. So usually, I'm not a demon. I don't usually use bracket ... as it tends to make people question my sanity. However, about a year ago now, I accidentally flipped my smiley when I was messaging a friend. No big deal, right? Wrong. I got a massively long text about why the smiley was wrong and disgusting and how I was a failure to everyone. You know, the usual hate message stuff. Whether I peed them off earlier and this was their way of letting it out, I don't know, nor do I care. However, there's one key detail you don't know about me. I am British, and Brits are notoriously petty. Naturally, I was rather annoyed that my friend took such a big offense to a seemingly harmless typo. So the results? I've been using a backwards smiley face for a year now in their company. But that's not all. I've swapped every single emoticon for a backwards one. Regular winky face? Meet Satan. Regular cool face? Another demon for you. Extremely happy face? I literally googled a backwards D and locked it to my clipboard for this gem. What is that? I actually prefer that one. I have never seen that before. I'm gonna start using it. I'm telling you, don't tell me off for a backwards emoticon, or a hell of backwards emoticons will rain down upon you. That extremely happy face, the one with the capital D and the 2 dots, well, OP managed to find a backwards capital D, but there's this little attachment on the D that just makes it look like the smiley face has a nose. It's very wholesome. Our next post is by Itchy Red Bump. Can't stop stealing my food? Enjoy some dog food. Long time lurker, first time poster. On my phone, English is my first language, etc. So from all housing at my university consisted of 7 students in a tiny 3-bedroom dormitory with 1 common space, kitchenette and single bathroom. At the end of freshman year, I managed to organize a decent group of guys to live with, but due to several summer dropouts, we ended up getting several transfer students. Things were sometimes tense, but the original guys usually managed to keep the place. The biggest ongoing challenge was theft of food, our private snacks and instant meals constantly disappearing. Every few weeks, we would take turns asking the newer students not to eat our food, but it kept disappearing. Cue Pettyrevenge. I sometimes volunteered at a pet store that sold dog treats that looked like Oreos. I started buying 2 to 3 at a time and leaving them in the kitchen cabinet. Every time they disappeared, I replaced them, always leaving them in the original clear plastic wrapping with pink dog stickers on it. After a few months, I asked a roommate if he had seen any of the cookies in the cabinet. He said, "Yeah, they tasted like crap." I replied, "That's because they were dog food. Quit stealing our food." Problem solved. Our next post is by The Quarantinian. I will happily sacrifice a few jelly bellies to teach you a lesson. Short and sweet. I am known to purchase a giant jar of Jelly Belly from Costco. Very reasonable price. I don't mind people coming in and shaking out a handful, but when somebody who badmouths me behind my back, always wants in on lunch runs, but always promises to get us next time and therefore never actually pays, comes in and takes a whole mug without even asking permission or even saying hi, and makes it clear that she hates me but loves the Jelly Belly supply, I had to take action. We are both early morning people, so there is usually an hour and a half with nobody but the 2 of us in the office. So I knew there would be no innocent victims. You can buy a box of the Jelly Belly game. It contains an assortment of beans that come in identical pairs. One has a good flavor and the other flavor is horrible. Is that bean coconut or rotten eggs? Will you get soap, earthworm, booger, dishwasher, or booger? In the game, you spin a spinner and eat whatever color it tells you to eat, and you have a 50-50 chance of getting a good flavor or a nasty one. Actually a fun game among friends. However, this did not involve a friend, so I happily bought a box of the nasty mix and dumped it into the jar. There was only 1 to 2 inches left in the bottom, so this was a sacrifice I was willing to make. And then I waited. I left my office for a bit, came back and saw that there were significantly fewer beans left. Perfect. About 10 minutes later, I heard a wonderful canopy of gagging, retching and utterances of disgust, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like something being spit into the trash can down the hall, with said trash can having a hint of a whiff of rotten egg, with a cup of uneaten Jelly Belly added to the top of the trash. The remainder of the jug went into my trash can. A new stash was purchased, and for the past 2 weeks, I have noticed that it's not draining as quickly as it used to. She hasn't said a word to me since. Not that she was actually talking to me before, but at least now she isn't mooching off somebody she hates. Our next Reddit post is by user Haunted Willow. My sibling used to jump scare me all the time, so I started carrying full glasses of water. When I was younger, my siblings and I used to play harmless pranks on one another. For the most part, it was all in good fun, but occasionally it would end up getting annoying. There was this one period of time where we would leap out around corners and do our best to give each other heart attacks. I startle easily, so this quickly got on my nerves. One night, I was leaving my room when I saw a shadow around the corner by the stairwell. I paused, remembered that I had a full glass of water on my bedside table. I decided I should probably bring it downstairs. My sibling leaped out at me, laughing, and I screamed loudly and swung the glass forward, completely drenching them. The best part was that I was the victim. How was I supposed to know to be careful? My sibling was angry because they suspected it was on purpose. I really got them good. But to this day, there is no proof. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Stegosaurus Bulletin. You can like the video if you like, and subscribe for more crazy stories.